Hey everyone, this is Eliana with Brands Are Alive. So today I want to talk to you guys about a point of resistance that many conscious entrepreneurs and creators have around the idea of building a personal brand and around visibility in general. A lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to are like, I totally understand the value of personal branding. I've seen people out there who don't have as much experience as I do, who can't really do what I can do, who, from my perspective, their work isn't that great, but I'm noticing that people are not getting paid based on their work's value. They're getting paid based on the brand and the name and that sort of thing. And there's a little bit of like resistance there because on the one hand, I recognize that I should be building an audience, I should be building a brand, I should be talking, I should be more visible. I know that's going to benefit me and it's going to benefit my business. But then on the other hand, there's this part of me that feels like it's a little bit narcissistic and self-centered, and I judge that a lot. I don't want to be that person. And I want to be behind the scenes is another one I hear a lot. And this is something I actually struggled with too. And if you guys didn't know, I basically decided I was going to start building this personal brand since 2018. But I procrastinated and I said no, and I worked through stuff all the way until like 2020, 2021. So it took me a good few years to just work up the I want to say courage, but the clarity and the just work through the resistance of putting my first video out there and actually sharing my true opinion or my true message. And for years, I kept seeing people around me who were sharing advice, marketing advice and business advice that I was like, nope, that is really terrible advice. That's not how it works. But they were listened to and they were followed and they were paid and they were just being listened to and they were misleading a lot of people. And there was nothing, I didn't want to. I was like, well, I don't want to be the person to go and share something, not because I didn't want to share, like have a drama or something. Okay, a part of me didn't want to even argue with people, but I didn't even want to talk about it, even like just sharing my own perspective. Forget about saying, well, I disagree with so-and-so. It wasn't even the point. The point is, hey, people need to know that about this particular thing. The mainstream marketing says X, but I know from my experience, from my perspective, that that's not correct. This is the nuance that people seem to be missing. It was important for me to say that, but I just didn't have, I had a lot of judgment around just showing up and talking about it because I felt like, well, like I said, it's narcissistic, it's self-centered, it's self-important. I had a massive imposter syndrome, still do, all the time. It's not going to go away. It's not really imposter syndrome. It's like there's always that part that feels a discrepancy between this and, it's just like catching up to the competence and learning I've done, let's say, since last year. It still hasn't really sunk in how much I've grown. And that always tends to happen is like you're growing and you're learning and you still think you're here, but you're actually here. And it's a continuous thing. So I've accepted that. I have no problem with that. But my imposter syndrome at the time was so strong that I was already in a successful like marketing consulting business. I had clients. I was getting paid high tickets for like prices for my services. My clients loved the work. I was quote unquote successful on paper, but I still couldn't call myself expert. I felt like that was a little self-important to call yourself expert in something, or, and I don't call myself expert nowadays just because it's actually, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with it, but to me, it feels a little bit ridiculous for me to say that. Like, I don't flinch when somebody else says it. I don't care, but I don't like it too much. Like, expert in what exactly? Like, you just know more than the average person, or you know more than this person, but it's all relative. Anyway, so it doesn't matter. The point is, I never felt like I was ready, and I never viewed myself as a serious business person, even though I was pulling money and I was getting the results. I always viewed myself as a girl doing things on the internet, making money on the internet, as opposed to the powerful businesswoman that I am, the person who is capable of actually getting shit done. Like, I never gave myself credit for anything. I kept telling myself that I wasn't. It was a fluke. It was always a fluke. It's always somebody else's effort. If a client got results, it's like, it's the client. The client did the work. The client did whatever. Even if I am doing done for you marketing, the client did the work. If I coached them which I'm not a coach, by the way. Okay, I'm just letting you know, like I coach people, but I'm not a coach. That's not my profession. But if I help them out and helped coach them through something, I would say, well, the client did it. And if I did the work for them, I'd say, well, the business was already successful and I came in and I did XYZ. I helped them get more results. But it's really them. Oh, it's the employees in that company who worked really hard to implement my strategy. It's and it's true. It's true that it's these people did all the work. That's true. But I also did all the work. I did my part, all my work, and they did all their work. And it's not so much this work versus that work or who takes credit for what. The point is, I was not allowing myself to take credit for anything because I felt at some level that if I gave myself credit and if I felt good enough, I would lose my drive. I would lose my motivation. I would not work as hard. I would become a vapid, shallow person. And God forbid if I went on social media and I started sharing my point of view, it's like so self-important and so narcissistic. So I had all these judgments about it. I didn't have social media for myself. I didn't like to use it. I didn't like being there. I did not like talking to people. I loved being behind the scenes. And I was like, the only thing I care about is to do work I love and make a bunch of money and be free. That's all I cared about. I did not care about becoming famous or something. But on the other hand, there was part of me that had developed my own points of view about the industry I'm in, the marketing, narrative, business, entrepreneurship, my own experience, self-improvement, spirituality, creativity. I had developed all these interests and all this knowledge and all this experience in all of these areas. And it was really important for me to bring that, to share my truth, to share my message with people, to help guide somebody who is maybe where I used to be years ago. Those things were important to me, but that wasn't going to happen without building a personal brand. That wasn't going to happen without me creating an audience. That wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to be able to share those things like that. And more importantly, like at some level, I think there was part of me that was like, you keep playing small and you keep being small in the world and you keep propping other people and dumping your resources in other people's businesses and other people's companies and in your client stuff and all of that. And I love that I was generous, but I was giving stuff that I didn't have for me. I wasn't giving it to myself. I was given at some point, I never shared this story before, but I'm going to say just to drive this point home. At some point, I was like, okay, I would like to work with more clients who are purpose-driven, but I hate the idea of building a personal brand. I hate selling. I hate being seen. I hate being visible. I just want to be behind the scenes. And I bumped into someone who was very keen on doing that, who wanted to build a personal brand, who just was, but had zero experience in this field. And this person was like, hey, oops, what was that? Oh yeah, I'm actually recording on, I'm taking laziness to a whole new level. I'm recording on a meeting with myself just so I can have the recording sent in my email and then just upload it. Anyway, at some point, I met this person who was very keen on building a personal brand. And I was like, oh, you know what would be really cool? I'll do all the work for these clients. You just pull the clients and we'll share. And it wasn't even like 50-50. I was like, I'll just take 10% because it's like very high ticket to me. Like I had developed all these processes and systems and things like that. I was like, why don't you go get the clients and I'll do their strategy. I'll get the results. I'll even show you how to build a personal brand, what to say on interviews, what to write about to build authority and all those things. And I'll just take like 10% on this one or whatever, like very ridiculously low amounts. And I was happy with that just because I did not want to be that person who went and talked to people and showed up and closed people and things like that. And that person was like, yeah. And I helped them build something. And just so you know, they changed their side of the thing, right? Like the agreement that we had, they weren't keeping their end of the promise, but they had a personal brand at the end of it and I didn't. And only the clients who had met me and had the strategy calls with me knew that I existed and that I was the one behind the scenes who was creating this. Everybody else thought it was this guy because he's the face of the company. But actually, in reality, I was behind the scenes and I was doing this. And I don't mean to take credit for everything. Like, I'm not saying he didn't do any work, but just to put things in perspective, I mean, he was like 20 years old and I was at least 12 years older than him. And I had all this experience and he didn't. He had done this as a freelancer for a couple of years. He had never broken over $2,000 a month before we met for 3 years. And that first year of us working together, he went from making less than $2,000 a month to having a 7-figure business. Maybe it's not me, but I know I was the one who was doing all the strategy. I was the one who was doing all the work behind the scenes. I was hiring and managing the people, and I was working on the processes and the operations and the marketing. I was doing everything that needed to be done in the business, including the content that he was sharing and the things that he was doing. No hard feelings at this point, at least. When I first discovered that this person lied to me a couple of times, I was pretty upset, mostly at myself, because I was like, wow, you've invested all this in this person, but you could have invested that in yourself. Like everything that you've showed this person to do, it was really just because you were afraid of being seen. You don't want to be seen. You don't want to be judged. But are you telling me that you're not worthy of being seen, or are you not good enough, or what is it? And I had to face that. I was like, what's so bad about being seen? What's so bad about being judged? What's so bad about putting yourself out there and building this for yourself? Because God knows you have a message, you have something to share. And this is why I care so much about the idea, like building not just a brand, but a brand of full self-expression. Because if you're somebody who cares about the kind of people that you want to work with and the kind of work that you want to do in your life, then you have to build a brand of full self-expression. It wasn't hard for me to go out there and promote myself and get clients. That wasn't the problem. The problem is I didn't want to deal with people because I didn't know who I was and who I wanted to be and how I wanted to be and what kind of work I wanted to do and how to be my full self-expression. So I thought, I'll just hide. I don't want to be fake. People are not going to accept me if I show up the way I am. If I'm going to go out there and promote myself and build a brand, that I have to be one of these narcissistic people. I have to be one of these fake people. I have to lie. I have to cheat. I have to do all these things. I don't want to do these things. So the other option is to hide completely, because showing up as I really am is not good enough. Maybe someday when I become somebody who is worthy of being seen, then I will be seen. And that was kind of the underlying tone that I had, that I wasn't thinking consciously, but it became clear to me that that was the thought, because all I had to do is just look at my actions and look at the way I was hiding behind the scenes and using that as an excuse that, oh, people who promote themselves, they probably aren't really good at the work that they do because they spend all their time promoting themselves. That's only if a person is literally on Instagram stories all day, just showing you their lavish lifestyle and telling you that they've built a trillion-dollar business through snake oil and whatever magic, and join my program. All you have to do is file your nails and, you'll manifest a trillion-dollar business. If a person is doing that, or they're telling you to hustle and whatever, then you have to question, like, what is this person doing? But if what they're saying to you is making sense to you and they're actually sharing their expertise and they're showing up and whatever, then there's nothing narcissistic, in my opinion, about it. There's nothing self-centered. And there's nothing self-important about doing that. You have to. It's your life. It's your message. If you believe you have something that needs to be said, something that needs to be shared in the world, then you owe it to yourself to show up and do that. And listen, nobody is going to advance your agenda, your message, your life, your purpose like you. Nobody is going to do it for you. Nobody is going to create the world you want to create for yourself. You have to go out there and create it for yourself. So if you want to have the choice, what kind of clients I want to work with, what kind of work do I want to do, how do I want to do it, and design a business of true freedom where you can be who you really are and do what you really love and still make a shit ton of money, then you have got to build a brand, and you have to build not any brand, but a brand of full self-expression. So that was my video for today. Hopefully that explains to those of you who have these objections around, why should I build a personal brand? I should do business or whatever. Building a brand seems like a secondary thing. It's not as important. And anyway, it's something that only narcissistic people do. Pardon me for the extreme honesty, but don't lie to yourself. This is what I should have told myself years ago. Like, stop lying to yourself. People don't have a way of knowing that you exist, don't have a way of knowing that your work is special, don't have a way of knowing that you are different and that your work is different and that it stands out until you stand up and stand for it. And if you can't do that, nobody is going to do it for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.